Good evening. I'd like to call the Town Council meeting of Tuesday, January 1st to order, please. And Councilor Bailey, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Sue, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Lesser,
Here.
Deputy Mayor Forrest,
Here.
Councilor Bailey,
Here.
Councilor Carbone,
Here.
Councilor Clancy,
Here.
Councilor Durick,
Here.
Councilor Rhodes, Councilor Timbrow, Councilor Zambrello.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sue, and welcome, everyone. Tonight is a special evening. A little over a year ago, we started the Citizen Recognition Awards to reward outstanding citizens in two categories. One is the Key to the Town, and the other is the Spirit of Wethersfield Award, and we'll be giving out those awards. We have a committee of 4 people. It's Councilor Carbone, myself, Jody Latina, and John Galvin. And we met and reviewed many applications for these awards, and we made 2 selections, one for the Key to the Town and one for the Spirit of Wethersfield. We're going to start tonight with the Key to the Town Award, and I'm going to read a little bit about our honoree, and then in a minute ask him to come up, Lee Kukrow. But Lee and his late wife were the impetus behind this book, and thank you for giving us all a copy. And I want to read apart from a note from the publisher, and then I have a statement as well. But without Anne and Lee Kukrow, the preservation community in Old Wethersfield would not look like it does today. Through a half a century of board and committee leadership and tireless work behind the scenes, they are the common thread connecting the several entities responsible for stewarding the entire town's history. It is with great admiration and gratitude that we recognize Lee Kukrow for his extraordinary contributions to the preservation and revitalization of Wethersfield, Connecticut. Lee's tireless dedication to the town's historic preservation, economic revitalization, and cultural growth has helped shape Wethersfield into the vibrant and cherished community we all live in today. For over 2 decades, Lee served with distinction on the Wethersfield Historic Committee, 14 years as the chair, and he led efforts that ensured the town's unique architectural legacy would be preserved for future generations. As past president of the Wethersfield Historical Society, Preservation Connecticut, and Connecticut Landmarks, Lee's leadership set a foundation for growth and preservation, which fostered a deep commitment to Wethersfield's historic identity. His visionary work in the preservation and restoration of Old Wethersfield has played a central role in the town's economic revival. His leadership in projects such as the restoration of the Herbert Dunham House and his chairmanship of that fundraising committee for its preservation further exemplifies his commitment to the town's future. Most recently, Lee completed the book Preservation in Action, started by his late wife, Anne, which highlights Wethersfield's century-long efforts to protect and restore its cultural heritage. This book, along with the current photo exhibit at the Webb Dean Stevens Museum, serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of preserving our past and its lasting impact on the future. Lee's legacy is deeply ingrained in the heart of Wethersfield, and today we honor him for his dedication, leadership, and unwavering commitment to ensuring that Wethersfield Historic District continues to strive as a living testament to the town's rich heritage. Congratulations, Lee. This is the Key to the Town Award.
It's really a key.
It's the second annual Key to the Town, and it says, Key to the Town, presented to Lee Kukrow for your significant contributions to the town of Wethersfield. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much for your generous words and for this important honor that is really deserved by all those who have worked for over a century to preserve Old Wethersfield. Most important, of course, in my life, my late wife, Anne. Her book, Preservation in Action, available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and at the Webby & Stevens Museum. Selections are selections from her History of Old Wethersfield, and it was published last September by the Webby & Stevens Museum and Wesleyan University Press. Anne's History of Old Wethersfield shows that its preservation was not a happy accident, an inevitable result, or a fortuitous outcome, but rather a conscious community effort, an effort grounded in the town's rich history, driven by critical planning decisions made by your predecessors as selectmen and councilpersons going back a century. In 1927, hiring a city planner from New York to lay out the Silas Deane Highway to divert traffic away from the old village. In 1964, establishing the largest and oldest historic district in the state. In 1984, entering a partnership with the Historical Society for it to restore and redevelop 2 vacant surplus town buildings at the very center of the historic district in order to create attractive uses to draw foot traffic, which has sparked the rebirth and revitalization of Old Wethersfield. I'm proud to accept this honor on behalf of those predecessors of yours, on behalf of all those who have served on the Historic District Commission, on behalf of the staff, volunteers, guides, and researchers at our museums and civic organizations, and on behalf of the entrepreneurs and business owners who have invested and contributed so much to the old center's bustling economic vitality. Encouraged and inspired by its history, realized by the cumulative efforts over generations by individual homeowners and property owners, by its organizations, museums, and businesses, Old Wethersfield is a historic preservation success story, a story which is still unfolding, and a story of which we as a town can all be justly proud. Preservation is our gift to the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Congratulations again, Lee, and we thank you for all the work you've done for the entire town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now it is my honor to present the Spirit of Wethersfield Award. Today, we gather to honor the extraordinary life and lasting impact of Robert E. Sharkovich Sr., known as Sharky. We present the Spirit of Wethersfield Award. It was with deep respect and admiration that we recognize Robert's dedication, service, and selflessness, which continue to inspire all who knew him. Robert dedicated over 4 decades of his life to serving his community. It's 25 years with the Hartford Fire Department, 22 years volunteering with the Wethersfield Fire Department are a testament to his unwavering commitment to keeping others safe even at the highest cost. In addition to his firefighting career, Robert also worked as a carpenter and maintainer for the Wethersfield Public School District for the past 4 years, always going above and beyond to ensure the well-being of his town and its students, and always with a smile, I might add. Beyond his professional service, Robert was a devoted son, brother, husband, father, uncle, papa, godfather, and friend. His caring nature, his love for his family, his unforgettable sense of humor left a profound impact on all who were fortunate to know him. Robert was the embodiment of this Spirit Award, someone who always put others before himself and did it with humility, compassion, and a heart full of generosity. As we present this award in his honor today, we celebrate not as only his exceptional service, but also the remarkable person he was. His legacy will live on in our community in Wethersfield, and his contributions will continue to inspire us for generations to come, and a true hero and a true role model. Robert's service and sacrifice and love for this town will never be forgotten. He will always be a hero to us, and his spirit will forever remain a part of the very fabric of the town of Wethersfield. And if I could present this award, Joanne or Karen, anybody would like to accept the award, and then anybody would like to speak on behalf of the family.
On behalf of the Sharkovich family, we'd like to accept this award in Robert's honor. And just say thank you for nominating and choosing him to accept the award. We miss him dearly. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Anyone else want to speak? Thank you, and thank you to all the men and women of the fire department are here. It's the police department. It's a great showing. Before we move on from the awards, I'll recognize any counselor, anybody who wants to say a word about this. If not, we'll move on to the next item. Does anybody? So, Deputy Mayor Forrest.
Thanks. I just wanted to congratulate the two award winners. Certainly, they have different feel to the presentations, obviously, but I like to think that the committee chose wisely. And I love our newer presentation where we honor and we celebrate the good that we as a people do. And Lee, for his dedication over decades to Old Wethersfield. And it takes a lot of work to do what Lee does. And it's not work that really gets recognized very often. I'm glad that we have a process now to do that. And to the Sharkovich family, I'd like to think of the presentation, while certainly there were moments of sadness during the mayor's presentation, but really it's also a celebration of the greatness that he was and the dedication that he gave to our town and our society. So I'd like to think of them as happy moment in time, a celebration of how we come together as a people, we give ourselves to each other, and we turn that goodness into a prosperous town. So I congratulate both individuals for all of their efforts and their dedication to Wethersfield.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Any further council comment at this time? Well, let me just finish this item by saying, Lee, we are grateful for all you've done for Wethersfield. And to the Sharkovich family, we are so grateful for Robert and all, just a community hero, but all he represents for all of us. And it's a role model in terms of the selfless service. So we thank the family. We thank Robert for all he's done. And we appreciate everyone who came out tonight in support of family and of Lee, and we are grateful as a town for the service that Robert provided, and Lee for what you've done, and your wife for generations. And I'll just ask for one more round of applause, and then we'll move on to the next item. You're all welcome to stay. I'm not sure you'll want to. It's cold out, but you're all welcome to stay. We are going to move on in our agenda this evening, so thank you for coming. Thank you. We'll take a pause for a minute. Thank you.
At least they're just about to start their presentations. Doc, I just want to make sure we have sound.
So we're going to resume, and the next item on the agenda is we do have a proclamation tonight that I'll read. Our meeting is tonight, Tuesday. We normally meet on Monday, and we didn't meet because it was a federal holiday, Martin Luther King Day, and we have a proclamation. I'll read it quickly. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s call to stand against injustice and protect the most sacred tenets of democracy still rings true today, more than 50 years after his passing, as we confront the many challenges of our town, state, and nation. His powerful example and enduring inspiration demonstrate the impact we can have by uniting our differences. Whereas Dr. King's legacy reminds us that the moral leadership does not require a person to be in an elective office or hold a position in power. Instead, exercising moral authority requires the will to do the right thing. Standing on the shoulders of civil rights leaders before him and working in concert with a generation of activists, Dr. King helped transform how our country saw itself and its future. And whereas we still have yet to realize Dr. King's dream, far from it, historic efforts are being made to address systemic inequities and disparities that people of color continue to face. Let us draw strength from his legacy and work together to further advance justice, opportunity, and equity. Now, therefore, I, Ken Lesser, Mayor of the Town of Weathersfield, on behalf of the Town Council, recognize January 20th, 2025 as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. In witness hereof, I set my hand and cause the seal of the Town of Weathersfield to be fixed this 20th day of January. And I'll just quote from Dr. King for a second. One of his quotes that I really like is that the long arc of history bends toward justice. So things in life go in different directions, up and down, never goes like this for any of us or for us as a town, a state, or a nation. But the point of his quote is the arc of history bends towards justice, which is a powerful statement. So moving on from there, I'm going to ask the chief and our police to come up and give the police activity report. Chief?
Good evening, Town Manager Presley, Mayor Lesser, Deputy Mayor Forrest, and councilors. I'm here to present the Weathersfield Police Department bi-monthly annual activity report covering the months of November, December 2024. So, what's this? Make sure it's working. There we go. Okay. As we normally start out, these are the demographics of the police department. We are still down 3 officers from the 50 that we are budgeted for. And it's not for a lack of applicants. It's because, as I say, when in doubt, pass. As you can see, from July 1, 2024 to December 31st, 2024, we received a total of 62 applicants for the position of police officer. Out of those, we've hired 4 so far, and we still need to hire 3. So we're probably going to end up passing on 55 around there. That's because my staff does the due diligence and try to figure out who exactly will fit the town of Weathersfield. And for those who were at the breakfast for the state of the town, I read a quote, and I'll read it here. It was published by Matt Dolan, the Dolan Consulting Group, titled Negligent Hiring Liability for Law Enforcement in 2025. At this moment, the law enforcement profession and the citizens who depend on it need agency leaders to meet the ethical challenge of resisting the temptation to hire unqualified applicants. In the long run, these applicants have the potential to inflict tremendous damage on an agency, the profession, and the communities that they serve. The last thing officers and citizens need now is unqualified new hires in law enforcement who will ultimately bring disrepute to the profession rather than further the mission of protect and serve. So when we interview our applicants, review them, go through the testing process, like I said, we're making sure we have the best fit for the town. I'm not going to hire just to hire to have a warm body in a seat, because that would bring more liability to the town. We're going to hire who we believe is the right fit and who we can train. Our calls for service for November and December. We had 5,235 calls for service to the police department. November was 776, December 733. That's a total of 1,509. Math doesn't add up. Well, it does, because 3,726 were self-generated by my police officers, by your officers. So the bulk of the work is being handled by the men and women of the police department. They're out there doing their patrol checks. They're out there in the community. They're doing a lot of things, motor vehicle stops, as I'll discuss as we go forward. As I just touched on, patrol checks, 1,921 patrol checks were conducted by our members. That's on the Celestine, Berlin Turnpike around the residents. But you'll see the bulk on the map there around our businesses. Our guys are out there in the middle of the night when they're closed, tugging on doors and making sure no one's trying to break into them. We can't be everywhere every time, but this shows you that they are out there and they are working. Motor vehicle accidents, we experienced 111 in that 2-month period. And the majority, once again, Celestine, Berlin Turnpike. They're heavy vehicular traveled areas. So with that comes the greater chance of having an accident. And here's the breakdown. 111, the majority of them occur on Tuesday and Saturday. That was 44 of them between the hours of noon and 5 p.m. November had 54, December had 57. 84% of the accidents that were reported were non-injury accidents. That's a good thing. And 20% of our accidents were involving individuals between the ages of 26 and 35. And we go back to where the accidents occurred. Now we go forward and our enforcement. 550 motor vehicle stops during that 2-month period. Last year at this time, they had 266. That's an increase of 284 compared to last year. The majority of the stops were for verbal warnings and written warnings for stop sign violation and for speed and red light violations. So we are targeting the hazardous moving violations on those two areas. But once again, we can't be everywhere every time, but we're going to try to solve that problem pretty soon. Here's a better breakdown of the 550. Like again, 23% between the age of 26 to 35, 80% Caucasian, just for the profiling report that we break it down by. Our crime reporting, 188 incidents where we had to conduct criminal investigations. 97 of those were for disorderly conduct, 30 from theft from a motor vehicle, 25 a domestic situation, 13 for shoplifting. Then the numbers drop in single digits. So I'm not speaking to those, but if you look on the side there, you can see the numbers on what they are. Once again, the 30 from theft from a motor vehicle, they're in that northern portion of the town. We're trying to combat that area. But once again, this is a public service announcement for everyone who's watching at home and in the audience here. Park your vehicles in the garage if you have one. Don't leave it in the roadway. Lock your vehicle. Don't leave your key fobs or keys in the car. Park your vehicles in well-lit areas. Don't leave valuables in the car, especially in plain view. That's an easy target. They'll punch the window and they'll go in and grab a go within seconds. If you have wheel locks, when we say theft from motor vehicle, we also mean parts from motor vehicles. Those are tires being stolen, the rims. If you have wheel locks on your tires, don't leave them in your glove box. Don't leave them in your center console. If you're going to have them, put them in your trunk. Make them hard to get to that lock to remove them. And install alarms and make sure you close your windows and be alert. So, a special request, our EVs. So, this is what we're doing with our EVs. We have two different EVs, as you're well aware. We have an administrative EV, and we have a patrol EV. The administrative EV, our patrol commander uses that to go on patrol and drive around town during the day. Our support services sergeant uses that as well. Our evidence officer uses that to transport evidence to and from the lab from Wethersfield, or the DD, use it for investigations, and then we use it for special events. So that one's being spread out amongst everyone in the agency. Make sure everyone has a chance to utilize it. Our patrol EV is currently out for repainting. We did wrap it when we first got it. The wrap didn't work too well, so there's another public service announcement. It's being painted black. So if it's beside you, behind you, and you're on your phone, I can't help you. So understand, it's going to be black, and it's going to be around. Hint, hint. So like I said, it's currently being repainting. However, come March of 2025, we're reinstituting the traffic unit. That car is going to be redeployed to do motor vehicle enforcement in our heavily trafficked corridors. The reason why it's happening in March is because due to the staffing increase, Officer Liam Connolly will be coming off FTO at that time. So it could be one-for-one swap. We pull somebody from patrol. He's on patrol. It's going to be cost-effective, not cause us overtime. And we could get that car back on the road doing what it was needed to do. We'll start helping us control traffic in those major corridors. And again, we'll be using that for special events as well. We have our overnight parking violations, and any parking violations is 76. Our fireworks complaint, which was just one. Noise complaints again, so hopefully we get those sound cameras, Mayor, or whatever you have going on. Red light cameras, speed cameras.
We want them badly.
So to help us out, because that's another force multiplier for us to work in town to curtail hazardous driver conditions in our town. And lastly, our ACO, 863 calls for Wethersfield child seat, car seat checks that we do for the community, and then our crossing guards that we replace when they are not available. So with that, it was quick, down and dirty. I think we're getting faster at these things, but any questions for me?
Thank you, Chief. And I'll mention, as you mentioned at the State of the Town breakfast on Thursday, we have the lowest crime rate in the region, and it's thanks to the work of you and the men and women of the WPDA, and we're proud of that. We have the best PD in the state, and we like to be able to say, it doesn't mean that we'd have no crime, but we have the lowest, and that is terrific. So I'll open up for any council comments or questions for Chief. Anybody? Deputy Mayor Forrest.
Thanks, Mayor. Page 9 of the slide. We could just go to page 9. It's a different 9.
Not 9, 10.
In the upper left-hand corner, there was a motor vehicle stop attempted statistic. It said like 8
Yeah,
or
that's
9.
okay, so you're looking at page 8.
Maybe it's page 8.
Correct.
There it is.
There it is,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. It was quick. You did such a nice job in the presentation. I was keeping up. Is that a yearly statistic, 8? That's the first question. Or is
No, that's a 2-month period. We had 8
2-month
vehicles
period.
take off on our officers on attempted motor vehicle stops.
So is that like where they run after you turn the lights on
Turn the lights on and they're going,
and they're gone?
and we're not chasing.
Got it. Is there a way, were you able to identify those people even though you didn't chase them?
I would have to research that. I do not know. I know we deployed our darts
Yeah.
3 times in the last 3 weeks, and unfortunately, due to the weather, they did not stick.
The gum darts? Okay. And then that follows me to my next question is, I think that we started our drone program recently.
We did. I announced that at the breakfast as well. So they were out there last week getting the training on that. We did get the drone in. We're working with the company on the EXT software program that helps it deploy, self-deployment with that drone. And also, we have to work with the FAA because we are so close to Brainerd Airport.
Sure.
There's flight restrictions with the drone and special exceptions we have to go through. But for the most part, the training's done, and we could be deploying it soon.
And would the would the drone be effective or used in situations like we see on the number 8 traffic stop attempted?
We're going to use the drone for it's going to be a multi-use drone.
I'd imagine it would be, but.
Yeah, for things like this, for car pop-ups, for first responder situations, to whatever the town needs or we deem it to be needed for.
Yeah.
We'll either deploy it from the PD, or it comes in a case that's got wheels on it. We can just bring it to wherever that scene is and deploy from there. Accident scenes, anything like that.
But do you think but this would be one of those use cases of the many use cases?
It might not, depending on if, in an ideal world, is that dart sticks, and we can
Right.
follow the car on the GPS and on the computer from dispatch, and if it's roaming around town, then put the drone up and follow it from the sky simultaneously.
Right. For the darts that do work in this situation, would that statistic be 8, or is it like, hey, we actually had the darts work, we apprehended them even though there wasn't a chase, like you did your great police work, and really the number might be like higher than 8, but we were able to do the police work, so it was reduced? Or is it 8, and then we apply whatever technology you have, and we solve a portion of those 8s?
It's still going to be the 8 because they are taking off on our officers. Now, identifying them and taking enforcement action, that would be the separate conversation, because sometimes they take these darts and they take them off. Then we just go out and we seize the dart, and then we go ahead and dust it for fingerprints or things of that nature.
Yeah.
See if we get them that way. Identify them. Just a whole different way of doing things.
I'm always surprised at like things that seem somewhat random and without much clues, and you guys solve them. And we see it time and time again, sometimes in more internal emails and the rest of it. But I'm always impressed with some of
I
that.
always brag about this police department.
It really is. It's something to brag about if you see some of the things. You're like, yeah,
crime
this
rate,
thing
the
happened. And
technology.
you're like, you're never going to catch that guy.
Don't
And then
catch
you're like,
him.
nope, we're going to get him. It just takes 3 days. And lo and behold, we get the press release or whatever it is, and you guys have got him. So I'm so impressed. I noticed that there was a reinstitution of the traffic patrol.
Correct.
Is that because of the fluctuation in personnel?
Yes, like
or
I
is
stated.
that for some other reason?
So we're hiring. So Liam Conley's on FTO. He just graduated recently, and we just actually had Gian graduate last week. So Liam Conley's coming towards the end of his field training
Right.
training, and that ends up in March. That concludes in March, and then he'll be on his own, which now gives us the ability to go ahead and draw from that pool of officers and have that a full-time position around town now.
Got it.
So without affecting overtime and cost of that nature, because it's a balancing act.
Understood. And lastly, we had, a few years ago, we spent a large amount of money to kind of put cameras around town, which you know about, and I know there's been sort of continuing work to get those sort of functional. Could you tell us what the status is of those sort of cameras and that work?
I'll defer that to my IT deputy chief. That's why I bring my whole staff with me.
Thanks so much.
He's overseeing that project, so I'll let you answer that, Gus.
Currently, we're working with GoNet Speed and Vulcan, and we have a test pole. So what it is we're switching to fiber optics to get the video footage from the poles to the police station. When those cameras were first put up, obviously the technology has evolved, and this is the technology hasn't been working, and so we have to upgrade. And so we started with one pole. It's down by near the Rocky Hill line, and what we're doing is we're working GoNet Speed. They just connected fiber optic to the pole. It's up and running, and so right now we're testing and evaluating. We're working with Jim Duragan and his staff to make sure that's working. So once that concept is proved, we can move on to the other poles. There's 14 poles in town altogether. So.
Right. And so is there, assuming that the proof of concept works, with this current fix, is there concept about when we will have that operational?
So there are cameras that are up and running. However, they have to be upgraded. They've been up on poles for a while now, and so it's evolved. And so, as you know, there's a cost associated with everything, and we do have that cost, and it's a matter of sitting down and discussing those details with the town manager and the finance director when the time comes.
All right. It may be interesting because obviously we have ARPA money or it's not ARPA anymore, but there are some funds that we're going to have to see how we want to designate it. So timing might be right if we've got something that's ready to go, but just needs a little boost to get fully functional. Might be something for the council to consider. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. Further council questions or comments? Councilor Carbone.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, that was a short and sweet presentation, but just kidding, Matt. So I had asked the update on the EV because I just really wanted to see how it was going, what your thoughts were on the electric vehicles. Do you feel like they're working out for you guys? Do you like them? Would you prefer them? Is there any issues with battery or parts or anything like that? I was just curious. 'Cause I think it's been a year, hasn't it, since it's been?
It has. And they're working out well for us. They're functional for what we're using them for. We have to remember, though, with the EVs, they are a smaller vehicle, that Ford Mustang model there. So when it comes to transporting prisoners and things like that, that's something that they might have to look at in the future and making a bigger EV to deal with that. But for what we use it for, it works ideally. They work fine.
Okay, thank you. I really appreciate the update. And I wasn't able to attend that breakfast, so I didn't hear about the drones. And so I'm glad you went over that. That was a good thing because I think people are interested in what capacity that's going to be used in town. And so that's good to know you're going to do that. And same thing with the cameras. The people have said to me, they think we have the speed cameras in place. I was like, no, those are going to cost a lot of money. We don't have those just yet. So the cameras that you're using now, those are more for if there's an accident or something, you can go review the tape, but there's not somebody monitoring these cameras 24/7, correct?
You can monitor them,
Okay.
but that's something that, as we move forward, we have to look at the dispatch center and redesigning that to get the video wall back up and running.
Okay.
Those TVs are obsolete as well, so that's the whole overall project that needs to be done to get that as a true visual wall with the cameras running and monitoring all the streets in Silestine and the intersections. So we can look at them on our computers, and then our detectives do go back and
Yeah.
retrieve stuff, but they have to go up on a pole, pull the card and download it. So it's a process.
Yeah.
Now it's a process. But.
Yeah, that doesn't sound safe. So thank you very much. And we do brag on you guys a lot, so that's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Carbone. Further council questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Appreciate all the work you're doing. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, officers. We're going to move on in our agenda, and our next item is the Advisory School Building Committee update. We have the chairperson, Russ Moran, zoomed in here.
He's going to step on the screen.
Russ, you're going to be on the big screen in a minute.
Hold on. Jim, which, off of my computer, which button? On that one, right?
Russ, can you hear me? Oh, he can't.
Not until he's up.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was confused about.
Well, we could pass on this, just some. There. I want to take a recess.
No, we'll get it quickly,
plug
and
it up
Russ has been waiting since 7.
I mean, we could always go.
Come
through-
back to it.
Yeah, I mean, we can
Well,
come back to, consent agenda, like, we got some little stuff.
You have to make a motion to move it,
do we,
bump it up.
is this quick? Okay. Good suggestion.
You know, take a little pressure off a little. 'cause some people are
Efficiency,
talking.
yeah. This should be quick.
those.
City
Audio plugged into?
Yeah, we'll have to grab that cord. But you're not even getting, why was this working and that's more than...
The other one's not so stable either. I'm going to.
Can I do what?
Dial it from the back and second
No, I don't have an input back there for this. Why are we even not? Did the police come back?
No.
We can't see him. Is there a way we could hear him, if even if it doesn't come up there? It should be fine.
had the audio before, right?
No.
No, I don't think, I couldn't hear him, but if there's a way to get the audio without.
I can just put the microphone down my speaker.
I almost
We've done that in the old days.
wore it. But he was interested.
Maybe we do that, Fred.
Okay.
That's all, because now that won't even come up.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is this not coming up?
You want to try that?
All right, Russ, can you talk and see if we can hear you?
I can hear you all, and I can see you, Fred.
Okay.
Can you guys hear that? I know it's not, you can, most of you. Okay. Thank you for your patience.
Yep.
So the next item on the agenda is an update from the School Building Committee, and we have the chair of the committee, Russ Moran. Russ is a little under the weather, and he's so gracious to still join us to give an update. Thank you for what you're doing and all the work of all your committee members. And we have Sally Katz in the audience as well. So Russ, you can give us a quick update, and then we'll see if any counselors have any comments or questions. So the floor is yours, Russ. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, esteemed counselors, and Town Manager. I'm glad, well, not really glad to be here because I'm not feeling that great, but I'm glad to share information with all of you as to what's going on. And thank you for accommodating me via this platform. As you know, well, frankly, so many of you are participating. There's always council members, board members coming to our meetings, which is great because we want people to be engaged and know what we're doing. So that's terrific. You kind of know where we've been. We've done the listening tours. We've been pretty much wherever we thought we needed to be, whether it was school PTO, senior centers, Chamber of Commerce, and we talk with public safety personnel as well to help us get to where we are. At our last meeting, as you all know, or probably know, we had some options out there. One was just to do 5 K through 6 schools. One was to do 4 K through 4 schools with a 5-6 academy, and one was to do 3 K through 4 schools with a 5-6 academy. Overall, very overwhelmingly, there was one person that wasn't in favor of doing all the schools, but everyone else agreed in a vote of the building committee to move forward with 4 K through 4 schools and a 5-6 at Webb. So that was a great step for us. And the person that was not in favor of it wasn't negative on it. He supports the 5-6. He just felt that we might be able to save some money. And again, based on all the discussions we've had with the experts, we met with educators and we met with administrators and parents. We think this is the right way to go. We will be having a meeting Thursday in Town Council Chambers at 6 p.m. At that point, we will have our consultant share with the community the 3 locations we have to build, for lack of better terms, a swing school. Because we're going to have to build something to house students while everything else is getting done. So the 3 locations, in no particular order, were the original High Crest location that was in the previous referendum. There was something at Keisha and the Keisha Farm, and then in Stillman Park near the existing Hammer. I'll say there's a lot of pluses and more in some locations than others, but we want to meet with the community and share that information with them, kind of show them what the footprint's going to look like, because people are visual. They need to see that we're going to have what the layout will be, and then we want to kind of show them what once the original school that will be eradicated, what that looks like in green space, park, and all that. So that's very exciting. Up to that point, after that, we are going to, I'm hoping to call for a special meeting, give the committee a couple days to digest and the consultant, and hopefully in less than a week, call a special meeting of the building committee so we can solidify our discussions and present a plan to the Board of Education and then to you all on the council for your, hopeful support. We also will have to, once we start going through that, the work won't be done. We're going to have to go meet with parents again. We definitely need to sit down with our police force and fire safety and ambulance as well to get their input on these particular sites. Because when we got to that, when we first met with them, there was none of this on the table. So, we still have an awful lot of work to do, but that's kind of where we are in a nutshell. There is, to reiterate, we are, as a committee, pretty much definitely on board with 4 schools and a 5-6. I'll tell you this, the committee, you picked some very fine people, and they're working really hard, and the conversations are honest and looking for what's best. There's no, I can't say anything negative about any member of that committee. So with that, Mr. Mayor, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them. And I look forward to seeing many of you on Thursday.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you again, under the weather, to give us the presentation. I'm just going to open it up for counselors. Does any counselor have a question or comment for Russ, for the chair of the building committee? Anyone? The meeting will be here on Thursday night in the council chambers at 6, from 6 to 8.
Correct.
Anybody? If not, I'm going to... Okay, Russ, there are no questions or comments. That means you did a great job of updating everybody. So get some rest and relaxation, maybe watch the Huskies, and I hope you feel better. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much, all. I appreciate it. And the only thing I'll say, Mr. Mayor, is if members of the council have questions or concerns, please, you come into the meetings, talk to me. You can call us. Any member of the committee, be happy to discuss things with you. We want you to be partners, and we want this to be successful. So thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Russ. Have a good evening. Feel better.
Yeah, good night.
And contact information for those people on the town website?
Through me to the town manager or Sally, do we have the contact information for the committee members and the chair, if Shelley wants to, or anyone wants to reach out?
Their website?
I believe there is a website, but does it have all their contact information? Your question is,
Yes.
Sally, do you know?
There is information, we'll update it for how to get into the committee and to give questions. We did not post specific personal email addresses, but we can figure out how to get that information.
Yeah. We can, if the public has a question, or the counselors, we can get you specific. I guess the feeling was not to put their personal cell phones
No,
out
I get it, yeah. But if you're saying that they can ask questions,
there.
there's got to be a place to ask
Yeah, no,
it.
so There is a website that you're allowed to ask questions, but we can get you if you wanted to talk to the chair.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, moving on. We have no hearings tonight, and most of our agenda is just so everyone was front-loaded because we had the awards and we didn't know how long they would take, and we expected a little bit of crowd. So obviously, we have public comment, and but we don't have a lot of additional agenda items. So public comment, as I always do, let me read this and then we'll start. During the public comment period, members of the public will have 5 minutes to speak on any issue. We have a lighted timer at the podium to help each speaker be aware of the time remaining for them to address the council. When you step out of the podium, please state your name and address, and at that point, the green light will come on, showing your 5 minutes have begun. The yellow light will come on when you have 1 minute left. At this time, please begin to wrap up your comments. The red light will go on when you have reached the 5-minute limit, and you'll be asked to complete your comments. After speaking, we ask you either to return to your seat or leave the council chamber so the next person can speak. If you do not have a seat in the chambers prior to speaking, please exit the council chambers and continue to your previous seat or exit the building. I do ask that you address your comments to the entire council, and please refrain from speaking directly to or about an individual council member or an audience member. I ask that you refrain from any derogatory comments or personal attacks. Please all remain respectful. This section is for the public comment, and council will generally not engage in dialogue during this portion of the agenda, but if any follow-up is needed, please leave your contact information with the town clerk, and the town manager will follow up with you. Would anyone like to address the council during public comment? Yes.
Good evening, Gus Colantonio, 16 Morrison Avenue. I haven't really prepared anything, but I'm going to complain as usual because I never really come up here and stay quiet. I've been in Wethersfield since 1973, February 73. It's coming basically 51 years, I guess. And the past 10, 15 years, I've been complaining about my street. And I've recommended a lot of things. I have, of course, now most of you are new, so you don't really know exactly my problems. But just, a few things here and there. Before 1955, Morrison Avenue did not connect to Silas Dean. I researched a little bit, and Morrison Avenue was supposed to be just a street, dead end, like a residential. Matter of fact, the existing right-of-way for Morrison Avenue, it's 50 feet. And it used to be 30 feet wide, and the sidewalk right next to it. Morrison Avenue, it's connected also by Hillcrest and also Tifton. When it was built, obviously, we did not have a lot of traffic because you could not really go to Silas Dean. But since they opened that up, the traffic on Morrison Avenue is bigger than the adjacent street on Hillcrest Avenue, I guess, which has an 80-foot right-of-way, 30-foot wide. It has 10-foot grass strip and then a sidewalk. It's much, much safer than ours. Hillcrest Avenue, it's connected also by Tifton. But at that intersection, they have 3 stop signs. Morrison Avenue, it's also connected by, Tifton? Or the other one. Anyway, one of the streets. And there, we have only 2 stop signs, one in the westbound, but none in the eastbound. And because of that, I believe that the traffic on Morrison Avenue is twice as many as Hillcrest Avenue. I've said a lot of times to you guys, and nobody's ever said anything. And the only thing I ever got was, we have too many stop signs in town. I've been an engineer for 37 years, and I've been retired now for almost 20, which is, it's great. I used to design roadways. They used to pay me good money, I guess I made a good living for 37 years in one spot. And I suggested what to do, what not to do. But a few years ago, they have decided to go from 30-foot to 24-foot right away. They built sidewalks. I mean, you know, it's crazy. Whatever they did, and the curbing, nothing lines up. Every year, the town has to fix the curbing on that street. Not on one spot. Now it's right here, well, now it's there. Now it's just like, you know, a piece of probably about 10 feet of bituminous concrete that needs to be replaced right across the street from me. Why? Because nothing ever matches. Nothing lines up. And so every time there is a little snow, of course, you know, you cannot really see where the curbing is, and it gets damaged. Now, where do I go from here? You know, sometimes, you know, it's sad, because whenever I look right here, I'm surprised why not too many people come and listen to you guys. And my only solution, or my only answer to that is that you guys do not listen. Because after a while, how many times can we come right here and complain or let you know what's going on? Either you are incompetent or you do not care about anything at all. Now, again, I've been paying taxes. The tax I've been paying in the, you know, in this house, it's probably, I don't know, 5-6 times more than what I paid for the house. The kids are out of school, 3 kids. God bless, everybody's doing okay. But where do we go? Why don't you listen? Am I saying something wrong? If there is, like, you know, 50-foot right away with sidewalks and whatnot, the sidewalk is only 3 feet on one, you know, 3 feet from the curb. Certain places it's next to the curb, and it was not really built the right way, because whenever you have a sidewalk next to the road, it needs to be a little bit wider than the normal. You guys never listen, but I guess the time it's coming. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gus. Further public comment? Mr. Young.
Good evening, Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. I'm disappointed that we didn't hear more about the new school project. I was hoping to hear a lot about it, but maybe I'll have to wait until next Thursday, or this coming Thursday. You know, I'm hearing an echo. As I mentioned at the last town council meeting, which followed the last advisory committee meeting, and several of you folks were here. You know, they mentioned the location of that new swing school at Highcrest North, Keisha North, and behind Stillman Building down in Old Weathersfield. But I also mentioned at the time, at the last meeting, that you had a fourth one. But of course, nobody spoke about the fourth location, which is on the west side of Keisha South. That goes to the wetlands. There's approximately 450 feet, 500 feet to the wetlands. And it goes back. If you go back 100 feet from Highcrest going south, behind the barn, you have 500 feet roughly to the wetlands. Whereas Highland North only has 250 feet from the wetlands, which is a very poor site, as well as it would damage the existing fields that are there, the playing fields, which means then you're going to have to rebuild new playing fields if you decide to put it there. Putting it across the street on Highcrest North, where are all the tomatoes and watermelons going to come from? This is what we heard about. That was the greatest thing in the world. That had the Weathersfield loam soil, and it was going to grow great this and great that. And how does the town council members not even stand up for your people that voted for Keisha Farm purchase? Looks like you let them all down, because not one of you spoke up at that meeting, at the last advisory meeting. You didn't speak up today either about not using Keisha Farm. But I'm saying use Keisha Farm South behind the barn, all the way down to the wetlands. You don't damage anything. But the ridiculous area that's been suggested on High Crest North, you're going to damage a number of fields. Anyway, I just can't get over stupidity, okay? Expect to come in here and find answers and the right answers. Now, also, not last Thursday, but the Thursday before, I went online because I had some questions. And I put in some questions to the advisory committee. I didn't hear a word all this while. It's been at least 10 days. Shows, again, no response to my questions. And yet, you talk about transparency. There is no transparency in this town. There's no transparency in this advisory group either when they hold their meeting down in the basement and no microphones, no anything to listen, and they're all whispering. That's my opinion. When you sat over here behind in the town manager's room, no microphones either. And it was a crampy place. So I don't really see where you have much transparency that you can brag about. So I believe that you have some issues here that need to be looked at. I'm asking also for all the costs based on the facilities condition assessment report that Collier International had done. I asked at the last advisory committee meeting to give me the cost of all the items, and on a spreadsheet, another sheet would show all the parts that they're going to need to buy to come up with this analysis. Show me all the labor and the labor rates. Show me your G&A. People need to be informed, if you know what
Mr.
I
Young,
mean,
your
Mayor,
time
which
is
you
up.
didn't do the last time.
Thank you, Mr.
remember?
Young. Yes, thank you, Mr. Young.
Thank you very much. I'll be back. I still got 11 minutes. Seconds. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Mr. Woodward.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Bob Woodward. I live at 456 Middletown Avenue. I want to pick up on something about the school advisory committee. Some time ago, I stood here and I said, there's one school that needs to be done differently, has one extra thing, that's Hamner, because it has to go to the Historic District Commission. And Mr. Presley wrote a note, shook his head. I mentioned it to whatever the firm is that you hired that went around to the senior center and here. And I said, you want some questions answered about the park and everything else down there in Hamner, get on the radar for the Historic District Commission. One of you called me at home and said, we're going. And then I found out nobody went, and that was the second time nobody has gone to the Historic District Commission. Please get on their radar. You don't have to get on the agenda. I was there one night for something else, and somebody came in, and afterwards they took him and they laid out some plans, and they said, okay, we'll get you on the agenda, but at least we've both got a start on what's going on. Please don't get to the point where you're saying, oh no, we don't have time, because that's a violation of town guidelines for Hamner School. If Hamner School is coming down or getting renovated, that's one thing. And the commission will deal with that in one way. If the school is coming down and a swing school is going in, that's two other steps. They'll deal with that in another way. And there are 3 different definitions of where Standish Park ends. Somebody told me that the Standish family gave what's there for the school and the rest of it is park.
a longtime town member. Another longtime town member said, Standish Park, the school property ends in a line with Francis Street. And somebody else said, school functions can be done by the Stillman building. One of those is right. I don't know which one at this point, but that will have to be checked out. Give them time to do their work too, please. This is a town requirement. Please don't come in with something that, a proposal for a referendum that has not taken Hamner to the historic district, because you'll be violating your own guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woodward. Any further public comment at this time? Seeing none, we will move on to council reports. Does anybody have a report this evening on the council? Councilor Zambrello.
Thank you, Mayor. As we heard, our chair of our advisory school building committee was here earlier, so he covered a lot of what I would have said. Just a reminder that there is the meeting, 6 p.m., Town Council Chambers on Thursday, to talk about these possible swing school locations. And just a couple of notes based on comments tonight that I would like to respond to. The Q&A on the website was last updated yesterday. So I do believe your question was answered, Mr. Young. If you check it now, I believe this is your question. That's the last one on there. So that was last updated yesterday. It is the committee that is working on responding to those on top of their other duties. So they're trying to get to it as fast as possible. But yeah, as I said, it was last updated yesterday. So there should be some new questions on there. And with Hanmer, I know it was me that Mr. Woodward spoke to last week about that property. As I said in that conversation, the mayor and our building committee chair both met with the chair of the Historic District Commission. They've discussed the project. Until there are actual architectural plans to go over, there's nothing to have a vote on by the commission. As Mr. Woodward correctly said, they can go after a meeting. I'm not sure that's ideal when they still don't have art plans, and that can be 10:30, 11 o'clock at night in some cases, because they have to wait until the end of the meeting. But it is absolutely on their radar. They have been speaking to the chair of that committee. And I did go to that Historic District Commission meeting. I also spoke to the chair at the beginning and just said, make sure we're all on the same page. Okay, there's not going to be any issue there. They're only concerned with the aesthetics, and they will absolutely work with the consultants and the committee on that. And I mentioned to Mr. Woodward in our call last week, but the rest of you might be interested too if you have questions about the same issue. If you go to the website of the consultants, TSKP, I'm not sure if it's tskp.com, probably something similar to that. They have a page on there with some of their previous projects, and one of them is the Cheney Bennett Academy in Manchester, which was an abandoned high school in an old, I think it was a mill building, that they fixed up, turned into a working school that's operating now. They worked with the Town Historic Commission and the State Historic Preservation Office. So they are very experienced at this, and I have the utmost confidence that they and the committee will be able to get this done in a way that's amenable to that commission. But that will be, of course, a question as we get a little further into the process. But thank you for continuing to bring that up. It will, of course, be important as we move forward. And I think that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Zambrello. Further council reports. Councilor Rhodes.
Hello? I don't have any voice left today. Just a report from the library board. The story walk has been installed in Wintergreen Woods. They're very excited about that project being on its way. The library board wants to thank not only the library staff, but also the town staff, including staff from Physical Services, Parks and Rec, Engineering, and Town Manager's Office for all their help. A ribbon cutting will be scheduled sometime this spring, and the whole community will be invited to attend. The library staff is figuring out what the first book is going to be. For those of you who don't know what the Story Walk is, it is a series of panels that have been put into Wintergreen Woods along a trail, so that as you walk the trail, you will read the story, and the library will be able to change the story seasonally or however they decide to do that. But it's a really lovely way to get families and children out into Wintergreen Woods and exploring some of our trails. So very excited to have that project started, or not started, almost done. Next is, they had a busy meeting. The library's redesign project continues to move forward, and as of last week, it was on track time-wise. They're hoping the project will be completed by June 2026. The library is currently in the process of selecting finishes, flooring, that sort of thing. And if anyone has any questions about the project, they should feel free to reach out via email to the library at weathersfieldlibrary.org. Finally, yesterday, on Monday, January 20th, the library transitioned to a new email system, a Microsoft system. It's anticipated that in the long term, it will be far more efficient and more secure than the library's current email system. And in case the question, this was to me. Technically, the cost per email account is less expensive than what it would be for the library to join the town's email system. And so anyone who has questions about that cost, the reason that we're not on the same system is that it is less expensive for the library to go to this Microsoft system. And unfortunately, the Microsoft system is not available to the town at the discounted rate that the library is able to access. It's just sometimes those things are available for the libraries that are not for the town. So that is the status of that. And as always, feel free to reach out to Brooke at any time if you've got questions for her about the project in particular. That's it.
Thank you, Councilor Rhodes, and maybe the council can have a field trip to go through the Wintergreen Woods Walk and the story walk. Might be fun for all of us to go there. But thank you for that report. Any further council reports? I just have one. I want to report on the Murals Committee. You may remember that last year we had a presentation from Matt Conway, the director of Rise Up Connecticut Murals, and we formed a Murals Committee with the goal of having public art in Weathersfield in 2025. Councilor Carbone and Councilor Clancy are on that committee, and we have been meeting regularly, and we love public input, and we've had some public input. We are trying to pick locations for murals, and we're trying to pick what murals we want to have. And I'll just tell you, there's been 3 prominent suggestions of the types of murals. One, a first responders mural, 2, something that depicts the history of Weathersfield, and something that's more inclusive of our children and the 44 different languages that are spoken in our public schools. But the committee is looking for that, and we welcome any input. But it'd be really nice if we're able to, by the end of 2025, to have some murals, as many communities across Greater Hartford and the state of Connecticut have done in the last few years. It would be great to join them. That's all I have for council reports. Does anybody have anything for council comments? I have a few, but I'll be quick. Someone mentioned a few times, it's worth mentioning again. Last Thursday, we had the State of the Town breakfast. It was sold out. This is second year in a row it's been sold out. This is an event by the Chamber of Commerce, and we heard a lot of wonderful speakers, including the chief, who reiterated again that we have the lowest crime rate. He's proud of that, and we all should be proud of that, and the council and the community. We did talk about 40 new businesses that opened in Weathersfield last year, $28 million of investments made last year in businesses, and we talked about and highlighted some of the key properties that have been vacant and doormat for a decade or more, some 2 decades, that are all moving along. So a lot of good news, and the business community and the town is thriving. And someone told me the other day, this town is hopping, and I like that word, hopping. Just to continue on items for council reports, on Sunday I attended the Vietnamese Mutual Association of Connecticut Lunar New Year, hope I get this right, Lunar New Year celebration was at Pitkin, and they had over 500 people here on Weathersfield during the storm all afternoon to about 5 or 6 o'clock, and they had a great celebration, lots of kids dancing, telling stories, and over 500 people, and we had a proclamation from the town. We're so happy that the Connecticut Association decided to pick Wethersfield for the second year in a row. And lastly, I mentioned this before, but it's really important to repeat it. On February 14th, we will be having, in conjunction with the Wethersfield Chamber of Commerce, the Mayor's Charity Ball. There will be two beneficiaries of the proceeds. One will be the Wethersfield Food Bank, and the second one will be the Veterans Traveling Tribute Wall. So that ball will be Valentine's. So if you don't have plans for Valentine's and you want to support, does that mean you're coming?
I'm going.
There you go. That you want to support the food bank and you want to support the wall coming to Wethersfield, go to the ball on the 14th. And I'll mention again, this wall will be coming from September 10th to 14th. It is the size of a football field. It is an exact replica of the Vietnam Memorial Wall, and we will also have 72 other walls, smaller, commemorating all the conflicts from World War I through Afghanistan. And it's simply a 4 or 5 day ceremony, a series of events to honor our veterans. And so that's September 10th to 14th coming, the Veterans Tribute Wall and the Mayor's Ball to raise money for it. That's all I have. It's a mouthful, but thank you. Does anybody else have any other council comments? If not, Mr. Town Manager, Town Manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of the council, I'd just like to respond to a couple of comments that were made by a resident at the last meeting. They were asking questions about the proposed grant that we have applied for with respect to dealing with our organics. That was to remind everyone, we applied for two grants actually, one at the state level, one at the federal level, and it's to potentially build a facility to process our organics, which would include initially all of our yard waste, because right now we have to pay to send that out. And then eventually food waste as well is our goal. So to build a facility to process that. Both of those things cost a lot of money to put into our waste stream. So we're trying to create cost savings by having a facility locally to manage that. And so we have applied for grant money to do that. Now the question was asked where. We mentioned Russell Road as one of the possibilities. If you're not familiar with Russell Road, it is west of the Berlin Turnpike, and it's all the way in the back where, is it Cedar Crest Hospital or Cedar Crest Hospital used to be for the state. It's all state-owned property. And we were offered a small parcel back there for purchase. And so we're looking at that as a possibility, but we're also looking at another property just below that area off of the end of Jordan Lane where it connects with Russell Road, where we currently have our leaf composting operation. So that's owned by the Tilcon Group, and so they're leasing us the property we're on now, and they're willing to lease us additional space. So those are the two spaces we're looking at, and in terms of what exactly the facility will be and how it will be run, those are all questions to be answered later. If we were to be fortunate enough to receive grant money for this project, there'll be many opportunities for the public to engage in this process. We have to go before planning. We have to go back to the town council. And so there'll be public hearings, and there'll also be public meetings that we'll hold as part of this process. The goal would be to make this a regional facility so that we can receive waste from the surrounding communities as well, because they're all in the same boat as we are. And so it might also be a revenue generating opportunity for us. So that's what that project is. If anybody has any questions beyond that, feel free to reach out to my office and I'll be happy to speak with you. I'd also like to update everybody on the ongoing WEMSA, Wethersfield Emergency Management Association, Emergency Management Systems Association, the ambulance group here in town. We've been going through a hearing with the State Department of Health for over a year now. Or just about a year now. And the hearing portion of that, so the witness testimony and the evidence taking has ended as of today. And so now it's, we're just waiting for the attorneys will submit briefs, and then we'll just have to wait for the hearing officer's decision on that. There's no specific timeline, but I would hope to hear something back in the next month or two, if all goes well. And then finally, I know there was one of the other questions that that was asked was about the Stillman and Standish properties. We've actually done extensive research on those property lines. I pulled the deeds myself. I went and got together with Sue, and we went back and we pulled all the original deeds for those properties and when they were deeded over to the town. And then I had our town surveyor review the lines to ensure that they are accurate and that any restrictions and where those restrictions lie. So to answer your question, Mr. Woodward, they absolutely can use the Stillman portion, which is behind the Stillman building where the fields are, for any school purpose that they wish. There is a line as you move towards Mikey's place that they're not allowed to cross. And we provided all that information from the surveyor to the committee, so they were able to take that and say, all right, this is your envelope, you can't go outside of it, and that's what their recommendations are based on. So we have done that research. And that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Town Manager. Town Clerk, Sue?
I just wanted to let you all know that the EDIC...
Can you pull your mic down a little bit, Sue? Thank you.
Just the January 2025 EDIC memo and report are now available for you to look at. They've been included in the agenda.
Thank you, Sue. Appreciate it. Moving on to the agenda, we have no bids, consent agenda. Do I have a motion? Mr. Deputy Mayor.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Do I have a second? Councilor Zambrello. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anybody opposed? Passes unanimously. We have no ordinance or resolutions, no unfinished business, no new business tonight, and no ordinances for introduction. We kept the agenda light because we had the citizen recognition. We didn't know how long those awards may take, and we expected a big crowd. So we are done with our agenda other than the second public comment. So now invite you to come up again, and you have 5 minutes. I'm not going to read the same thing. Gus, I saw your hand up. Gus, you're up.
Thank you. Again, Gus Colantonio, 16 Morrison Avenue. Now, in my mind, I was working at. As you can picture, Morrison Avenue and Hillcrest Avenue, they run parallel to each other, and they connect Walcott Hill Road to Silas Dean. At the intersection of, and they're connected from, by Orchard. At the intersection of Hillcrest Avenue and Orchard, there are 3 stop signs. The intersection of Morrison Avenue and Orchard, there are only 2 stop signs. There is no stop signs in the eastbound direction. Just this for your information. Before the reconstruction of Morrison Avenue, which 10, 12 years ago, a few years ago, there was no sidewalk from on the north side from Orchard to, few hundred feet. And the reason was, I was told, that basically if they had put the sidewalk down, the kids would have gone there. The kids that attend the school, middle school, would have crossed in front of Tifton instead of crossing on Orchard. Now, and that we didn't want that because on Tifton, if you cross Morrison Avenue right across from Tifton, the sight distance from the eastbound traffic, it's not there. It's dangerous. So one of these days, there might be an accident there, and then you're going to react accordingly. But basically, now they have put the sidewalk. So the people coming from, let's say, from Hillcrest Avenue, and they attend the school and the middle school, they come along Orchard, then when they get to Morrison Avenue, there is no really ramp to go across and cross there. They go in the eastbound direction on the north side of Morrison Avenue, and when they get in front of Tifton, that's where they cross because then they go through Tifton, I guess, and they go on Church Street. Now, do we want the kids to cross there, or do we want the kids to cross at Orchard? Me, I like to see the kids crossing an Orchard because the sight distance is much more. Now, again, before Morrison Avenue was connected to Silas Dean, there were no really through traffic from Walcott Hill to Silas Dean. Now we have twice as many traffic, and the answer at the end, the question is why? I know why. People tell me it's because, in the eastbound direction, we can go from Walcott Hill to Silas Dean, and we do not have to stop. Now, what's the reason why Hillcrest Avenue has 3 stop signs and we have 2? And as long as you are not going to give me an answer, I'm going to write, a page or 2, whatever it is, and I'm going to come right here, and every meeting I'm going to read it to you until something happens. Because this is completely asinine, if you ask me. And another account now. A couple years ago, I stopped to see somebody at the fire department, right here. And I complained on Bird Road. Bird Road is 24 feet wide road. And you can park on both sides. My sister-in-law lives there, and I go there, once, twice a week, or sometimes, And I have a problem every once in a while, because sometimes a car is parked on one side, a car is parked just on the other side, and I can barely get through it. And I always think, that's why I went to the fire department. If there are 2 cars parked in the opposite, and there is a fire there, the fire truck can even go through. Why is that? Now, on my street, get 24 feet wide, and there is parking only on the north side. Bird Road is 24 feet wide, and parking is on both sides. Why? How long is it going to take before you guys are going to address the possible problem? Are we going to wait again, until something happens? That's the way government, reacts instead of proactive, I guess. But anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Gus. Any further public comment? Mr. Young.
Good evening again. Robert Young, 20 Copper Mill Road. Mr. Colantonio has been coming here for a long time, asking for a stop sign to slow traffic down in his neighborhood. He's been totally refused to have a extra sign put on one of his streets to slow down the traffic. I don't know what the issue is with not giving him a sign, but I do have an issue with, back in January, you put a sign up on Highland Street and Collier Street at Keisha property. It went up very quickly in January. I see no reason why we need one there. I think you should take it down. Because there's no reason. I come driving down that road, now I have to stop. Why do I have to stop? Because some some bureaucrat decided to put a couple signs up and now I have to stop? I think it's ridiculous. It's a good throughway, right through. Mr. Colantonio, he lives in a family neighborhood. He's got all kinds of kids running around, and you refuse to even entertain a sign for him. I can't believe how long he has come and asked to try to keep his neighborhood safe. And I can't believe how quickly a sign went up. 3 signs went up, 1 on Collier, 2 on Highland, right in front of the Keisha property. So quick. And who's responsible for that? I'm disgusted with it. I try to avoid going up that road because I don't want to stop at that lousy signs. And I think it's pretty poor on the town to put them there. Matter of fact, who initiated it? Do we know? I'll send you an FOI tomorrow morning, Mr. Manager. Maybe you can give me the answer. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Young. Further public comment? Seeing none, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
Second.
Everybody wants that second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Matt, that was you, right? The second day?
I think it was Emily.